All right. What's going on, everybody? Let's see if this works. Going live with the homie Kiefer, baby. All right. Did you get the invite? Let me know if you got the invite. Yes. Sweet.
What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Living life.
Can you hear me? It's a little windy out here, but are you hearing the wind, or can you hear me?
No, you're good. I can hear you.
All right. If it gets windy, let me know. I can go upstairs.
There you go.
I like to be outside with these lives lately. The last live I did, I was outside and it felt pretty good. Like
Yeah, yeah, I got
I was
that.
like feeling it.
And some nice lighting. Not half bad.
Yeah, man. Natural light. There you go.
Right now, that's where I'm getting mine.
How you been, man? What have you been up to? I know you. I saw that video that you did, and I know that you've been posting a bunch of stuff about your baby girl. So, what's the new? What's going on? What's going on? How you been?
Yeah, man, I've been good. So, I guess the most recent thing I got into was, I went through like a course for like affiliate marketing, which
Hmm.
I've known about for a long time. But more directly, this relates to my current business, with the magic and the water machine. So, what I really found was, um, you know, about this all the time. The more valuable you can be as a you can deliver to people. So I originally hopped in this. I was kind of skeptical. It's the $99. You join, 30 days money back guarantee if you don't like it. Right? So I hopped in it, and it was one of the most extensive and elaborate trainings that I'd ever gone through. So I've been on that for a while. Like that really kind of like spiked me up to kind of get more locked down on my content. It was kind of like a reawakening moment on everything that I already knew. But I think
Hmm.
it kind of got me to like take more action. Other than that, made a shit ton of money selling my home, so that was cool. I'm completely debt free.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I've made some investments, got some retirement stuff, dude. Yeah, things are looking good. So
Hell yeah, man. So that's awesome. So so in the last time that we had talked, you sold your house?
yep, sold my home.
Wow. What sparked that?
What's
Were you doing, you know what? I'm gonna go outside. It's getting windy up there. So, were you in the process of doing that the last time that we spoke?
No, not necessarily. It was kind of like a force by hand by certain misfortunate events, I suppose. Depending how you want to look at them. Personally, I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me, really. But yeah, it just kind of was something that I had to do. So it kind of ended up in the point where it was either going to be I couldn't afford the house anymore, um,
Hmm.
or I could just sell it off. And so that's what I did. It's just a house.
Uh,
So yeah,
so are you still in Oregon?
yep.
Right? You were in Oregon, right? So you're still in Oregon.
Nope.
Did you just move kind of like down the way a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I just moved the next town over, so now I live in like Grants Pass. Before I lived in Real River. It's kind of like three towns, four towns, kind of like in a row, all within like 10 to 20 miles apart from each other. So I just
Okay.
next city over. The town I lived in was pretty small, so this one's kind of like more of a city in comparison to where I was. But yeah,
Okay. Okay.
now I've kind of been going like more minimalistic. So I got cheap rent. With all that money, I paid off all my debts, so I'm just saving a shit ton of money. And yeah, so I took a big portion of that budget, and I really started, put that for Facebook ads. I think I told you that. To
Yeah.
really,
Yep.
before I had this big issue with in the past. When I originally was running Facebook ads in the past, I had one intention, and that was to make money, which is something that my
Ah,
program ended up teaching me was, kind of like the wrong kind of thinking because when you go about it, like people can smell shit from a mile away, right? Like if you're a real person, like if you
yeah.
really sense that your Facebook,
Especially nowadays too. Nowadays, it's more easy to spot that than ever. I feel like because that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's like, oh, do this, do that, or like come, they click on my link, click on my link. So yeah, it's hard to be like distinguish out and be different.
Exactly, exactly. And so when I was getting into that, I started realizing like, no, I like so this, I've budgeted about $200 a month on Facebook ads, and I before it
Wow.
was wow, I've spent $100 or $50 on an ad, and I didn't get anything from it. But now I've kind of realized that it's more of like a self investment in a sense, because
Hmm.
some of the stuff that I have to say and some of the content that I want to put out there and the message I want to send is worth that. You know what I mean? Like the ROI on that over time is where I'm gonna get like reputation and that money back. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like that Gary Vee. He's like give, 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 give. So me now, like even on some of these videos that I run ads for, I don't drop my link in there. I don't say go buy this affiliate program. Like I think just those people seeing that and the value that I have to offer, that they just want to be a follower. That would be someone that they'd want to surround themselves with, right? So
Hmm.
I definitely believe that delivering the value, and so right now that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm just gonna see what happens from there.
Yeah, man. And it's actually cool that you said that because one thing that I've really learned about and one thing uh that I've really dove into is the damn my headphones is the power of story, man. And I don't know if you've ever looked into that, but I mean Gary Vee doesn't really go into it too much, but he does a great job of doing it. And he's very vivid with the way he tells his stories. And so like that's one thing that I noticed about like the IGTV episode that I commented on that I saw from you, like you elicited the emotion like right away. And so like it struck me like right away. And like even though because I try to look at, even though I know you like and we're friends and stuff, like I try to look at it with like a fresh perspective. So I'm like you captured me right away with that. And like when you continue to do that and you continue to do that and you continue to do that and you don't ask for anything in return and you just keep having patience, like kind of like with me and you, like you become friends with people. And then eventually, like even if like we do is keep promoting each other and keep giving the word out on each other, that is huge in itself. Because it's like if we can just create that oh, okay, like our word means something with each other, or like oh, okay, like we have that relationship where it's like I can help you, you can help me because of what we've built together throughout this whole thing. You meet more people like that and your network increases and your relationships increase, and the possibilities, man, are absolutely endless.
Absolutely right, right. That one, and that's exactly kind of what I was getting at. It's just like that one connection. If you can just touch that one person, like that last video, is actually something that someone had told me. One of my mentors, Aldrin, he said to me, he's like, listen, I was going through a rough patch. He's like, listen, things don't happen to you, dude. They happen for you. And he's like,
Yep.
again, say that. Think about what I just said. He's like, things don't happen to you. They happen for you. And it's like, man, that just that little thing, it can really flip that switch. And whether it's that thing or another thing, the glass is half full. Everything happens for a reason. All
Mhm.
these little things that you've heard like over time, but like if you actually like down deep believe that, and I like for me, like it means the world. Like when I say when something bad happens to me, I say, everything happens for a reason. I feel better, dude. It's like a weight off my shoulders. But for
You know,
some,
let me
it's different.
let me ask you something actually. So like when you were doing it for the money, were you kind of hoping that things would work out? And then when you sold your house and you started like when Aldrin was telling you all that stuff, now do you more so have faith that things like will work out if you just keep putting in the work? Like did it change from like hope to faith almost? Just because I was listening to like this podcast and he was saying that hope is almost like fear. So it's like when you're going at it for the money, it's like, oh, I hope I can do this and I can make this much. Like I hope, because if not, then like this will happen or this will happen. And then it's like when you like make the actual switch in your mind and you're like, okay, yeah, life is happening for me, and you take those opportunities and you go with them and you have he called it just undying faith. It almost fuels your extraordinary effort, and in turn that effort feeds more faith, and that fuels more effort, and he calls that the miracle equation. So that's why I was kind of just wondering how if maybe it went from like hope to faith and you more so believe in it now more, and it's not about the money, it's about like who you're becoming now, like you know what I mean.
It's funny that you say that. That was something that was like really tripped me out. Um, there was like a point where how do I explain? Like you just said it. You just said it. It was like a miracle, and I felt like it was a miracle because, I got put in this situation. I got faced with a choice. It was I had this idea of where I want to be. I want to own my own house. I want a nice car. I wanted this facade of something that maybe I didn't necessarily have the income for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Just kind of more influenced by, like,
But so what was I influenced by? It was just, it was reality. I would say that was the what it was. I knew what needed to be done. I just had a life where the income for $200 a month on a Facebook ad wasn't going to work. Not to say that you can't get that amount of exposure, but when you're working a full-time job and all this, you just don't have that commitment effort, right? So,
yeah,
I really sunk into my original roots of what I originally wanted to do, was build an online business. Um, and it kind of shifted. I was like, all right, do I want to run an online business? And I thought it was okay. It's not possible. It's not possible. And it wasn't until someone that reached out to me, and I knew him before, like, dude, I am killing it after going through this program, and get this, like, they tie into what you're currently doing, so you're not really losing vision. And I started to decide, like, all right, I'll pull the trigger on that a little bit after I sold my house. But like, back to that thing where I got faced with that decision. I said, you know what, it makes more sense to get the house. I took a big faith in that. It's like, all right, I'll a bunch of money from that. And before, when I got into kind of like online marketing and getting into businesses, like, that was my idea. Like, I wanted to get out of debt. I wanted to be happy. I
yeah,
wanted to be successful. I wanted to feel secure. I wanted to get my retirement set up. Like, I wanted to have investments, all this different stuff. And once I let go of the image, once I
the
said
outcome,
the fancy
the
car,
outcome, like,
it didn't matter. It just, things started falling into place, like, one after the other. The moment I decided to say, I'm not going to make an excuse anymore, and I'm going to do what I said been wanting to do, is when it shifted. And, like, every day, like, it just keeps going. Like, all this blessings, dude. I'm not even, it's the craziest thing. Like, all these
man,
blessings have been coming my way.
what's crazy about what you just said is you kind of included like everything that I talk about in my book that I'm writing. And it's the three E's, and it's ego, expectation, and excuses. You like literally just touched on like all three of those, man. Like, you boosted up your ego. You know what I mean? Like, you made every excuse in the book, and then like you put all this expectation on certain things. And like those things are toxic if you fill them up like this balloon of like, just, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this is gonna happen, and it's got to be this way, and it's gonna happen like this for sure because I'm gonna do this, and like I'm gonna be living like this, and it's like, yeah, and then things happen, and you're like getting so discouraged, and you're just like, what the fuck, man? And then you have to like kind of step back, and some people can't have like that humility to be like, okay, I need to rethink this. Like, some people really just like push, and then all of that like resistance just creates more persistence on that stuff, and it's like it just keeps attacking them, and then they just keep going instead of taking a step back like you did and being like, okay, what can I minimize here? Like, what can I capitalize on here? Because ultimately it's an opportunity, and this can be something that can help me grow further, or this could be something that I can allow me to just keep me stagnant and keep me all plateaued and where I'm stuck and where I feel stuck. But that's up to you, and you made that decision, which is amazing because not many people really kind of like realize that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was the craziest thing. I like, that saying you said, follow your heart, do what makes you happy. Like, the moment I like tied into that, the moment I accepted like what it was going to take, like, it was just the biggest blessing. Like, I just, words can't explain what that means. And like you said, expectations. That's one of the biggest things. I would say that's like another great piece of advice. It was like you said, once you set these expectations and you don't get what you return, kind of like the Facebook ads. My only expectation of running that ad was not to deliver in content, not to say anything that actually resonated with people. It was to run an ad that made me money, and it was a piss poor expectation, right? Once I flipped, even on my Facebook ads, I must have spent like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars before I actually realized what the hell story branding was. Before I even realized
Yeah.
it took, and that expectation of getting something. The only person that let me down, the only thing that let me down was myself, because I set that expectation.
Yes, yes, exactly.
I let myself down. I do it quite often. But to realize that you've set an expectation, even off something other people say. Like when someone tells you something and you set an expectation for them to do it, you have to understand that, if they don't follow through, not to take it so personal, because everyone interprets things differently, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
everyone control over unhappiness. That's
Dude, exactly, man. That's funny that you said. I was actually talking to my mom about that thing, because she does that a lot. Like my mom has a habit of doing that. She puts these high expectations on people because she does things and she has these high expectations of herself. So she puts that on people, man. And when you don't deliver, she's like so disappointed in you, and then she just gets herself mad because she's like, I can't believe they didn't do it. Like, oh my gosh. And I'm just like, Mom, like, you're doing this to yourself. Like, you're telling yourself these stories. You're making these people do these imaginary things. You have these imaginary expectations of all these people when they don't believe the same things you believe. Like, they don't necessarily believe that you've got to do this way and you've got to do this that way. Like, you've got to have empathy for others. Like, you can't just assume that everybody got the memo. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really like that.
yeah,
People get that shit.
yeah, no, it's bad. Yeah, it could definitely get bad. One of the big ones actually was my girlfriend and I were talking about, kind of, she lives in California, and we were talking about when she was going to move down here. And originally we were kind of communicating back and forth about, a time period or whatever. And so I had this expectation of it being, at a certain time. And so when it, down and started getting close to the timeline or whatever, and it didn't happen, I kind of felt like really bummed out. And I was like, man, like, it didn't happen, you know, why didn't it happen? And for me, like, I was like, my expectation, if I said I was going to do something, I would do it this way, and I would start doing this and this and this and this. And when I started thinking about the things that I would have done, like you said, like your mom has the ways of doing her own thing. So for me, the way I was thinking about how I would do it and what like really happened, at first I wanted to point the finger and be like, it's your fault. But that's not how it was at all, because like you said, people just do things differently than you would yourself. So that's where you fall into the expectations of others, upon yourself. Definitely, like, you need empathy. Definitely.
And yeah, and like, see, like, and it's funny because you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, my headphones died, so I was like, and my speaker's all fucked up on my phone, so I'm like, I don't know if you can hear me. And then just like kind of going back to ego, like when it's almost like your ego gets shot because you're putting that expectation on that person. So it's like, how could you do this to me? Like your ego's like, oh my goodness, like I am me. Like how could you not reciprocate my love? Like how could you not reciprocate this or that? Like how dare you? How dare you? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna keep score and I'm gonna hold that, and you know what? I'm gonna stay mad. And I'm gonna stay mad at you because you should have done it this way. Like, and it's like our ego just kind of gets like the better of us. And if you don't have control over that and know how to like stop yourself in those tracks and like you said, realize like, hey, we don't like how much do we have in common with this anyways? Like, you know what I mean? It's like the how much do we really have in common with different things? So it's like, obviously we grew up differently. Obviously we have different things that trigger different things. So if I could just be more empathetic to that, I could be like, okay, like you need to calm down a little bit because it's a little, you don't need to take it so personally.
Yeah.
At the end of the world here.
Right. Right. Definitely.
But hell yeah, man. So all right. So you sold your house. You kind of minimalized everything. Right now you're working on getting your girlfriend over to you, and you are running ads now. You're like doing content. Are you trying to put out more content now? Is that the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now, I'm kind of focusing really big on, videos. Definitely, I read a book. It's called Story Brand. I cannot think about who wrote it, but
Hmm.
big one. And I started realizing, because our entire culture and everything that we do and relate to has all been, based off of stories.
Stories
So it's always been stories, back
in the
all
same format.
to the cave. And so, yeah, exactly. And when you notice about people that you enjoy being around, people that, are funny, you often, once you learn that trick, once you learn that in marketing sense, I notice it a lot more when I watch movies, when I'm listening to
Yeah.
a presenter, anyone talks, and I'm like, man, if you can, because anyone can tell a story. You know, you can tell a story about something that happened to you, you know, because it's something that you can relate with. Like if you are willing to express that, and I think online, I think where a lot of people fail is because it kind of sound like you know, they kind of sound like you know, a 1950s ad or something like that. You know,
Yeah, like straight to the punchline with a real cheesy twist. Like,
yeah, like, yeah, they just start naming off facts. You know, people like, you know, like they say, facts tell, stories sell, right? So once I got into that, but there was so much more underlying that. You know, there's like this a sense of like what do you call that? You know, be like see through. We just say like see through. Where you can being transparent. There you go, being transparent.
yeah, yeah,
Like how you felt, and I realized that was something I needed to tell more because you know I was really excited, you know, about this program that I went through, all this training that I'd gone through. But you know, if I just hopped on a video and been like, "These are the facts. This is what you get," you know, some people wouldn't be very excited about that unless they're analytical type. You know, I'm a little bit analytical, but someone might resonate with the fact that like they're struggling, like they want to quit their job, like they want more free time, they don't really know what they want to do. This online business thing sounds kind of cool, but like how do you relate with that? And so once I started hopping into that, like more just telling a story, like just being transparent, you know, being myself and being like a real individuality, you know, like not just your mainstream kind of deal. So I was like, how do I you know, take that? You know, because for a while I was really lost. I was super lost as to like how I wanted to, you know, present myself. You know, I wanted to be
yeah.
those, um, you know, that had all these facts and all this good knowledge. You know, like oh, you know,
Mhm.
dead poor
The
dad.
expert, the expert. You wanted to be the expert.
I'm not the
Like,
expert. I'm not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
Not the expert.
yeah.
Oh, I know some stuff, but so does Greg down the street. So, you know, how was I going to connect with my, you know, my brand? How was I going to connect with people around me? And I just figured, you know, it was just about being genuine because it doesn't matter what you say, no matter what you do. It's just about being genuine and being honest. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I quit my job and look at my Lamborghini. You know, it's like, yeah, that's crap. You didn't like, you didn't quit your job, like, you know, do. But it's like that's what people want to buy. But then at the same sense, I realized that's not really at all. And so when I started getting to like all the stuff about Facebook and you know how it's called Facebook because people want to see faces and they don't want to see these ads, I was like, everything just clicked, and I was like, all right, I know what I need to do. I know now I don't have to worry about being the expert. You know, I got stuck in what do you call that? You know, study mode. I got stuck in that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this information and not really doing anything. I became
Hmm.
a person saying, telling people to go take action instead of doing it. So the moment I transition to you know stop preaching and start doing, it,
Hmm.
you know, it was insane. You know, I dropped my ego. You're like, I'm not this person I want to be now, but I will be, right? And
Yeah.
I have a firm believer in that. Like if I might not be where I want to be tomorrow, today, but I will be there. I know,
Hmm.
you know, because it's just gonna happen. It doesn't matter how it's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna happen, you know, a year from now, 6 months from now, or even you know 10 years from now. But it's gonna happen. You know, I'm gonna reach all my goals. I'm not gonna be, you know, I'm gonna be my own boss, no matter what it is. You know, I'm gonna get there. I just don't know how because I'm not gonna set an
Hmm.
expectation of where I want to be, just a goal and kind of like an idea. But you know,
Yeah.
it turns out differently, and that was another thing too. Is like when I thought about how I would pay off my debt. Like it was really big into like the attraction marketing and you know like you know, all
And yeah, yeah, yeah.
but the crazy thing was, dude, and I'll admit it, is when I started getting into that, and once I started doing that, it it wasn't like what I originally imagined. You know, in my head, I was thinking like things just start happening like a miracle. It was a slower process. Everything I wanted to happen, every last bit of it. It just didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen.
Yes, yes,
It was
yes.
insane. It was like a surreal moment. I was like, holy crap. And it's just been like still happening. The other day, I just checked my mail. I got some check. You know, I already got all my money from the house, paid off all my stuff, and I was like, man, I don't really have a whole lot left after doing all that. You know, invested some. All right, now I have like 4,000 left out of 20. Like, wow, that money really went. Like, man, that's what.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, you know, really, that's a bummer. I'm going to be doing this trip, I was like, I'm just not gonna have anything to show from this. You know, I was really like discouraged. I was like, man, I was just like 1,000 short. And the other day, I got a check in the mail that came back from an escrow overcharge. It was $1,000. I was like, this is insane. Like,
Right? Yes.
I don't even know. I don't even know. But yeah, dude, I'm definitely set on it. Like, keep doing.
Yeah, dude. And you know, I don't know if you follow. I mean, I'm sure you've heard Jim Rohn. He says too. You know, like it's not about the goal; it's who you become in pursuing the goal. And that's like really true, man. And even going back to what you're talking about like just the whole storytelling. I'm glad you're talking about storytelling too, because like literally my podcast on Friday was about that very thing. Like the last half of it was all about storytelling, everything that I had learned, because I had learned it because I didn't realize that Russell Brunson was doing it with his funnels. So I was like, okay, he's on to something. So then I looked up a bunch of screenwriters. I looked up, you know, John Campbell's The Hero's Journey. Like I looked up all these like different things, and I realized the same as you, like all these things have this underlying like these common themes in the way that they tell the story and the way that they empathize with your audience and the way that they, you know, they just have so much emotion. And you know, they say that like desire is the thing that moves the story forward. The conflict within it is the thing that elicits the emotion, and it's the character within the story that allows for you to root for them in the long run. So it's like when you can apply some of these things to the way that you tell your stories in everything, it just all kind of works a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier to figure out like not only what to post, but what to say in your post that will resonate with people, that doesn't make it seem like you're trying to sell them. You know what I mean? And like, man, I was going to say something else too. And I completely forgot. But it, you know, I thought it was funny that you said storytelling, because I literally have been just like doing nothing but talking about that. And that's kind of like what, like it didn't start out that way, but that's like what my book is ultimately becoming, is like on top of like the things that I'm normally talking about, it's going to be an actual story to go with it based on these types of things, like where it's like, okay, you know, everybody goes through these types of forms of stuff. And so this dude is going to go through a journey and then go through all these realizations, kind of like how you are. Like, you know what I mean? He's going to go through all these different realizations within the process of what he knows he's going to do. It's like you said, like you're not going to get there in the way that you thought, you know, and nothing's really going to happen in the way that you thought. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about actually too, is you raise your vibration, man. Like you raise your vibration, and because you did that, you're getting things that are attracting the same frequency as your vibration, man. So like because you shifted your intention, you're not doing it for money, you're doing it for the right reasons. You're like, your intentions are pure. You sold your damn house. Like you are minimalizing, you're doing everything with the best intentions possible for your daughter, for your family, like for everything. And so like the things that happen to you are meant to happen, because like now you're on a different path. Like you're on a more uplifting path, and you are the path. And now that you realize you're the path, you're so conscious in the present of what you can do that you know, like you're confident in the decisions that you're making, because you're like, well, damn, like, you know what? I believe it now, because like, you know, I just got $1,000 and that's what I needed. Holy shit. Like the power is real. Like, oh my God, like here we go. I'm going to keep chugging. Like that's belief. Like, you know, and then the more you believe that, Hal Elrod is his name, man. You should look him up. The Miracle Equation. Like, and then the more faith you have in that, it feeds more extraordinary effort, and then in turn that fuels more faith. And just like the cycle continues. Is that your daughter? But yeah, man, that's the cycle, and he calls that the miracle equation. He literally calls it the miracle equation. He said we can all create miracles if we just have faith and extraordinary effort, and it just kind of goes and keeps going.
Yeah, dude, it was definitely it was just like a surreal moment. Like, I would say like within like those meditations, you know, a lot of it was for a while. It felt like I was trying to force like an idea of this thing, but like once I actually realized kind of what I was doing, it was more of like just a moment where I could kind of like self-reflect. And it was like just different and thousands of different like scenarios of like, you know, what am I going to do? Like, how can I make this possible? You know, what would it look like? You know, what would it feel like? And all these different things. And, you know, even though it was unclear as to what I should do, but every day it seemed like I was doing something right. I think that at one moment I was driving down the road and I was thinking to myself, and I was like, I feel like in a sense, like everyone is connected. Like we all have like common thoughts, common feelings, and like common ambitions. And there's like sometimes you have like a voice in your head. You either tell yourself not to do something, like your voice of reason, like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder. Like, so what I started doing was I started going off my first gut feeling. And when they say if you don't feel like doing something, you should probably do it. And like I started shifting all those things. So like if I was sitting on the couch and I knew I had to get up and do my laundry, but I was watching TV, I would listen to the better voice in my head. I kept telling myself, listen to the better voice inside your head. Like if you say I shouldn't eat this donut right now, I didn't eat that donut. If I said I should get up and do this because it needs done, I got up and did it. And I just started so I started doing these things. I started changing my routine. I started working out more. It just was this combination of things that I just felt good on the daily about doing. That I think just kind of led to my single steps forward. I started getting more opportunity. I stopped worrying about what could happen and started focusing more on the possibility of the better things that could happen. I just started cutting negativity out of my life, like people that started pissing me off or just weren't giving me value. I just kind of slowly broke myself off that, all this different stuff and the stuff I've been listening to, but not actually realizing I was not taking action on. Those are some of the things that I actually started doing, and overall, like my entire life, I felt improved. It was just like a surreal moment, you know what I mean? And I started realizing that, it wasn't about the things and it wasn't about this. Like I started realizing that if I could just, even like say I wasn't making as much as I wanted to make at my job, but I knew that I made a good enough money that if I just lowered all my bills, got rid of my debt, that my life would actually end up being better. And even though I might not have any more time, I just have more money to do things with my time later that I want to do.
Yeah.
So for me, when I looked at my house, I was like, all right, this is like the new place I'm in. It's smaller, and I was like, man, this is tough to get used to. But on the other hand of that is like I have like all this extra money to do things outside of my house. Like I stopped spending so much time inside of my house. I started getting out more, and so when I started getting out more, because I didn't want to be inside my small house, I started making more contacts outside of my house for business as well. So like that's what I mean. Like just like all these different things, I was like, oh, I don't have time to go out and prospect people. Well, now I don't want to be inside my house. So all of a sudden I found time.
Funny how that works.
Like it just started like all these different things that I wanted just kind of fell in my lap in a different way than I thought. You know what I mean? So it's thing, dude. It literally when people tell you like to follow your heart, like I dead on seriously felt like I was following my heart because my chest would beat when I just like listen to that voice inside your head, and I would just do it. That's just what I went with.
Yeah, man. And it's funny that so for me, it was always, I always talk about gratitude and momentum, and the way that I was able to, and let me know if you kind of relate to this and what you kind of just said, but it's almost like with gratitude, you develop this growth mindset, you develop accountability and perspective, and you kind of have it. And so I always say gratitude for today, gives you momentum for tomorrow. And then in order to get momentum, you discipline yourself, and you take the right disciplines that you need to take. You meditate or clear your mind, and you have that clarity enough to form a plan of attack. And when you have all that, it literally transitions you into that next phase of okay, I'm doing now. I'm hitting it. I'm going to the next phase. I'm going to the next level. I'm tired. And then you start to see those things, and because you develop that growth mindset, everything that you've gotten from the momentum part of it, you get to see the opportunity. So you're okay, now I'm going to take this momentum. I'm going to keep running with it. What other opportunities is life going to give me? And it's when you create these foundational pieces, it really just helps you accept the fact that you need to surrender in what you're doing and not control so much of the outcome of what you think could happen. You've got to let go of that, And for me, I always like almost was like, you know, never trying to make the same mistakes in the past because I wanted such a bright future that like I was always like hesitant, like you said, and I would listen to the 5 second delay voice instead of like the right away voice. And it's like when I started to entrust in the real voice, like better things started happening to me because when you it's almost like you don't get the time to make your intentions bad because you're believing in your higher self and you're trusting in that voice. So you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give myself into this and like I'm gonna have the best hope and faith in that and then see what comes of it. And usually good things come back and like things start to like seem like they're in a whirlwind, but if you just get past the obstacles, you start to notice like things kind of like seem better on the other end because you're better. You get to see a whole new perspective and like things just like make sense, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely, dude. I don't know if you've ever seen. They bounced around for a little while, and they just still out there. It's like the entrepreneurial mindset where it goes. So it's like all these different things. It says problem is like, can you fix it now? It's like no, so it goes down. Don't worry about it later. Can you fix it now?
Oh yeah,
Okay, so fix it. So that little entrepreneurial thing.
that's simple.
Yeah, it's so simple, and I really thought about that. And I like that's something I hold true every single day too. It's like it's little things. That's what I meant about like not realizing that you have value to produce, is little things like that because it's true. Because if you can't handle a problem now, and it's like sometimes we get stuck on it. We get stuck on this problem. This big problem. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it now? And I started realizing that if there was nothing I could do right then and there, so if there was a solution but I couldn't do it then and there, I just brushed it off. I kind of like, I just like let it go and continued about my day and handled it when I knew I could. And so I developed this, like, I'd say thick skin to be really calm in just crappy situations. So like even when like I was moving out of my house, I was paying my mortgage and they were telling me, I could sell it at any moment. And from that moment, I'd only have 30 days. Well, I was anticipating this. I was looking for places. I couldn't find any places. And I was freaking out. I was like, I can't find anything with like my budget that I wanted to do. Like, what am I going to do if I end up selling this house? I'm going to have to be out within 30 days. Well, I got that call. I didn't find the place. And it turned out I didn't have to be out in 30 days. They wanted to do a fast close, so I had to be out in, I think it was 20 days.
What?
So, oh, yeah. So the stress on, it was nuts. And I was like, all right, well, there's nothing I can really do about that, So I continued to just search and search and search. Well, then something came up, and then it ended up just working out like perfectly good. And I didn't have my tax money at the time. I didn't have my money, so I was going to use my credit card. But like as soon as that I got told, it was a couple days later, I found the perfect place. And then right after that, my tax money came, and then boom, I had my money. It was just, but like in that moment when I was real, like when I was freaking out about like how I was going to make it work, and it was like this everyday single thing. And eventually I just said like I gotta let this go, just worry about the things that I gotta do. And then eventually I got that news, and I was like, all right, well here it is, And so that's what I realized was that I stopped needing to focus on things that were like dragging me down. Like if I couldn't solve them right then and there, it just needed to be handled later. And so I got like so many different things. I had all these different bills that needed to be switched over, and I was like, man, I didn't have time to do this today. And so like I was like constantly felt like I was almost stressed, but in the same sense, I kind of like just let it go. Like you'll get all this handled. Like everything's gonna be fine. It's fine. And sure enough, everything kind of worked out. Just perfectly fine. So. I just continued to listen to that better voice inside my head, just kept doing things, stop stressing about them, problem come up, but, money things, like I just, like those aren't things that I worry about anymore. Like when I look at opportunities, when things come across my path, if in my head I say it sounds like a good idea, and I've looked at all the odds of like what bad can happen, what good can happen, if those two odds are, weighing more the other, I'm going to hop on the other end. I'm not going to think about it, and that's something big too. I tell my coworkers, when I talk to them or tell them I do, they can't seem to really, get it. They don't really connect with me. They think that what I do and the things I do in my choices are almost like erratic, like they don't really make sense. Because I'm all over the place.
Yeah, no, yeah, because they almost seem impulsive.
Yeah, it seems impulsive.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely like I would say impulsive, it may seem impulsive, but like for me,
Yeah.
like my impulsiveness is actually like a very defined like
It's
plan.
like a presentness. It's like a form of presence. Like you're present. You're making the decision that you know is the right thing, predicated on what you're doing right at this moment, not based on any judgment or future shit. Like, yeah, I got you. I got you. That's 100%, man. That's 100%.
Those are always my best decisions. Things that like not necessarily I haven't really thought about, but that may seem spontaneous or erratic to others have always seemed.
Yeah.
And a lot of those have been with like vehicles. Like I've had quite a few vehicles. Like some of them I'll buy and just flip them, or some I'll buy and hang out with a little bit for a while. But um, when I see it, like something like sits with me. I'm like, man, like this is a nice car.
It's worth something.
Like I want this car. This car's worth something. Like this is worth me. And like they'd be like, no, 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 it's no good. Like you're gonna get burnt. Something this, and this. I'm like, no. I'm gonna get it, and I've done this about 3 times, and they've given me the hardest trouble of ever. Like, don't go buy this, like you're gonna get screwed. And every single time I've done it, like I've made like pretty good money off of it. I've made like 500 off of one. I've made like 1,000 off another, 700 off another. Like I just I got rid of that voice in my head that says like maybe they're right. Like when Gary Vee talks about like don't value other people's opinion.
Yeah, that's like that. What that is.
Yeah, and I think that's what because for me, like I'm strong enough to like swallow a bad pill. Like if I mess up, like I know that I'm going to be strong enough to handle my bad decision. But on the up hand, if I'm right, like that gratitude that I'm going to feel is going to outweigh that any day. So like for me, like that's where my erratic decisions come from. If it feels good, like if I feel good in that moment, like it's just like a cinch, like a gut feeling they would call it. And when I feel that gut feeling, dude, I just act on it. And every time I put better voice inside my head. So.
And do you still meditate now?
Yeah, I still do.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, it's funny because I feel like one thing that people assume that meditation is like, okay, I'm just clearing my mind for the moment. I'm just clearing from my mind for the moment. But like reality is like what you're doing is you're practicing lessening the dissonance between your subconscious and like your actual like action. So like that hesitation voice and like you're minimizing that. So that way you can make those free form decisions in that present moment. And it almost seems like you're able to tap into that more now than ever because you're like so present, like, and you're meditating on the regular. So it's like you're having that regular practice all day long of staying, like not judging and then letting your thoughts flow free, clearing your mind. Because I'm sure you feel very like you feel cleansed as soon as you come out. You're like, man, like okay, I'm ready to go. Like I'm in the moment. Like I'm ready to just be. Like I'm ready to be. Like I'm just ready to be.
Yeah.
And I think like that's what a lot of people don't wait for, so they think it's not doing anything, and so like they don't see the overtime effects, you know what I mean? But I think if people like had that same mindset, like you said, like just having confidence in that and just keep doing it, being consistent with it, and then like in time things will change. Like it's not like nothing is permanent, so like as long as you keep growing and you keep doing and you keep getting better and stuff like that, it'll come. But like I think people just get kind of impatient, so then they're like not only impatient about the meditation, but they're still not practicing being like in that present moment. So they're constantly like judging, being fearful, judging, being fearful, judging, being fearful, judging. And they're constantly in this like weird survival state of like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Instead of like, and then like you said, all that stuff that you worry about is draining your energy when you should be present enough to keep all of your energy focused in what you need to do. And then like that's where the power comes from, because you're all in, and you're totally accountable because it's a conscious decision that you're making, and you're taking the stride for it. But too many people, man, they're just like so freaked out over like what could be or what should be or what this person thinks or like what could happen, and it's like just stop and then just do, and then just like you said, if I could do something about it, okay. If not, then okay. And it's a cycle. Like you just keep adding that equation to everything. And if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. There's always something you can do, but if you don't do anything at all, it's almost like you're still negatively compounding. Like you're still going in the wrong direction, even if you do nothing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest one. Like, just like being paralyzed. You know, I hated that feeling, you know, being in that position of like, you know, what am I going to do? And like, you know, a lot of people, like I'm even guilty of it, you know, just like getting that, you know, overwhelming stress of, you know, what do I do in this moment? And I think like once you're able to like just kind of, you know, brush that off, you know, and a lot of that came from the meditation, you know, like when I was, you know, meditating a lot of time, it was just kind of like, that, you know, I didn't really get it at first. You know, for me, it was just like, okay, you try not to think of anything. You know, that's the idea, right? You know, tell monkey brain to stop. Like, just focus on that. So, but like I would come out of it and you'd be like, all right, like, you know, what was that? You know, what happened? But I didn't really realize that, like in that time, like in the beginning, I would be sitting there thinking, I might think about my day, and I might get like caught up in like a daydream.
Yeah.
You know, it's just whatever. Like, but like even doing that, like I don't know if it was because of the meditation that, you know, all these great things started happening, but I believe that, and it, you know, like they say, the placebo effect. You know, that back when they discovered that the placebo effect was a real thing, when they gave people the pill.
Yep.
The most amazing thing about that is that
It works.
Yeah, it works. So it's almost like it is mind over matter. That like if you believe you can. And so with that meditation, like it was like for a thing for me, it was kind of like my placebo effect. Like, okay, if, you know, I believe that, you know, if I would meditated and I you know, tapped in this frequency of, you know, abundance and wealth and happiness, that I would find it. And I mean, so far I kind of have. So, you know, I'll take it. You know, and so meditating, like it, you know, it's like a moment of silence. Like it's just that moment of presence. Like I'm here today. Like I'm here now. Like, you know, my body's here. It's like, what's my purpose? You know, what's it going to feel like when I reach my goals? You know, what, you know, I just often try to think about things that I want to do. So like before I go in, I kind of have like an intent. So an idea of kind of what I want to gain from it, or a feeling that I want to feel. Let's say my one I'm working on now would be like, so I've started doing my investments for like my Roth and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so right
Oh
now,
yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That's the dude. You're entering a new realm. That's what's up, man. Hell yeah.
yeah, I budgeted in. I'm going to do 6,000. I think that's the max you can do for an entire year. So I was like,
Wow.
oh, take this. So first, I tell myself that I'm not spending 6,000. It's disappearing. I'm investing 6,000. It's going to be there. I can't touch it for 7 years, but when I touch it in 7 years, it's going to grow, right? Because it compounds.
Yep. Exactly, man. Exactly. The longer you wait, it's like the longer you wait, the more rich you'll get, man. It's like, it's like how much of the journey you want to experience now, brother.
Exactly. It was something that I've been saying I wanted to do, and so like, you know, it came down to that moment, and I was like, man, I got all this money. It's like I could, like my buddies were telling me, oh, you should do this, you should do that, and I was like, man, you guys are like, you're broken. Like it sounded good. Like they're like, dude, you should get like this sweet, you know, 4x4 car, you know, whatever. Because that's kind of like we're into. Like we go up in the mountains or whatever. They're like, you should spend all that money on a truck, and I was like, that sounds great. Like you know, I'd love to do that. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't want to. Like that's what I'm getting away from. Like I don't want to be the guy that looks like he has a lot of money. I actually want to be the dude that does. You know?
Yeah. That's sustainable wealth.
Yeah, I'm trying to sustain.
Yeah.
So for me, like that was the whole idea of like selling the house, you know, getting out of there, was to like minimize my life and live, you know, respectfully, like live respectfully and within my means, and save enough money to reach my goals of tomorrow. So like that was a big thing. So like originally I'm taking like that 6,000. So it's like we broke it up. Originally I was just gonna put it all in there, so I didn't spend it all away, but we ended up breaking it up so we can catch some like market drops. So it's about a month is about what 6,000 breaks into 8 months. So I was like, all right, so 750 a month, and then after that, like I'm probably gonna, you know, being that I'm saving so much, and being that my business is taking off, I'm end up gonna take like a lot of that. Like I want to be able to invest, you know, at least $500 or $300, you know, every single month.
Yeah, every single month to additionally compound extra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because like for me,
Have you?
Like I want to retire at 40. Why not? Like it's definitely possible.
Have you read Unshakable or Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins?
Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, dude. I was like, dude, you're like, yeah, no, I was like, you're like on the right track, man, for everything. You're doing it right. And it's cool because like, I remember the last podcast we had, man, and it's like I can see so much growth, like from then to now. And you know, it's funny because I was talking to my fiance about this, and it's almost been a year, man, like since like we first met and stuff. Like come around in August, like in the next few months, it'll be like probably like a year since we like, you know, really like since I started, since we developed this relationship, everything. And so like it's insane, man. That's exactly why I love to do this podcast stuff, is because I get to see, man, like where you started, bro. Like I got that bio. And now, like, you know, come around maybe 10 years later when you're a, you know, multi-millionaire, because you have all these, you have this diverse portfolio going around with all this stuff, man. It's like, we're still going to have that rapport, and I'm still going to be able to interview you the same and be like, yo, like, look at how far you've come, man. And we can just revel in how far you've come and who you've become in the process. And then, like, you know, just see kind of like literally see in like transitions, man, how you've been able to do what you're going to be able to do, which is like, it's like an honor for me to be able to do that, man. And that's honestly why I started my podcast and why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, is so that we can have talks like this and normalize to other people that, like, if you take the right steps, man, like you can do it. Like, you've got a daughter, like you know what I mean? Like, you had to grind your way to like be able to invest that money. Like you had to do the knowledge, like you had to do the check work. Like so many people see so many people on Instagram and aren't willing to do the journey, like behind all the shit. Like, and then not only that, they're so influenced by the material shit that they think that that's what it's about. And then they're like, the people who actually do have those versions, they have no idea what kind of work they put in for that shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and it's like insane. And so like, yeah, so like I just want to commend you for like your growth, man, and like just how much you've been able to accomplish in just the short time that I've known you, in this year that I've known you.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. No, it definitely does feel good. Like, you know, like I said, it was just kind of like a mirror. Like everything that I wanted to happen happened. So for like me now, it's just like, now it's just, I think would be like refining it, you know, going through the fine tune of things. And so like, you know, I've made myself to that position. So like a lot of my focus now is, you know, what I originally wanted a lot of my focus to be on. And that was like my business aspect. You know, now that I've made like half my way onto, you know, the cash flow quadrant of being like a legit investor, you know, like actually having my money work for myself, you know, now is the actual time that to be there, you know, be the business owner. Like, you know, technically I own a business, but like I want consistency. So
Yeah.
with that consistency, you know, I began to like work more on like my, you know, my routine, and just like having, you know, a very set idea and, you know, passion behind what I want to do and like what kind of image I want to create of myself. So, you know, that's my biggest thing now. And like I just want to continue like just drop massive value bombs on like anything that I can. You know, definitely, you know, that little flip, because, you know, that's where it started for me. It was just like, it was all up here. You know, it was just like one little thing. And I didn't realize it until it came from a different mouth. And that was the biggest thing for me too, is like, that was my biggest fear about getting on video, about like telling anyone. It's like, man, like I've already heard this, like someone's already did it. You know, why should I do it? And I think that's a lot of people is like, someone's already done it. You know, why is it going to be different not to do it? I can't do it like they did it. And it's like, that self-doubt. So like once you can eliminate that self-doubt, because it doesn't matter, like, you know, if Tony Robbins says the same quote I'd said, you know, it might be more impactful to him, but some people will be like, Tony Robbins a fucking joke, like he's just, you know, because they're jealous of who he is. But if it comes from like his best friend, he's gonna be like, dude, that's like really, you know, insightful.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter, like it just doesn't matter, like, you know, these are things that are never going to go out of style. Like it's never going to be going out of style to be like, hey, stop bitching about life. Like everything's great. You're alive.
Well, the thing is, like, being genuine doesn't go out of style. Like, being your damn self will never go out of style because you're going to be so unique at it. Like, nobody's going to really, like, be able to copy that. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, like, if you could just let your guard down and be yourself, then that really is, like, all you need to do. You just need to figure out how to tell that story that you're trying to get across in the right way. Like, just hit some emotion right off the bat and then be able to, like, to carry out a good story. Like, and it's funny because, you know, even like everybody from across the board can do that. You know, they hit you with something that hits you deep, and then they just keep going, and you're like, I want to hear the rest of this, man. And if you can just keep doing that, and you can keep trucking and believing, and you can keep moving, and you can just keep like really just being and your best self and focusing. You know, that's really it, man. Like that's, you don't need to put all this like emphasis on so much. Like we don't need to put all this pressure on ourselves, you know? And so what are your like, what are you planning to do from like, I know that you wanted to start a YouTube.
Right.
Is that like in the works? Are you still working on getting some stuff? Like, and then what, like what's your, like, what are we going to expect from you? And then, just what, yeah, like, I guess what can we just expect from you specifically? Cause I was pretty excited when I saw that IGTV episode.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, like what I'm doing, like a lot of my content, like so a lot of these videos, right now I haven't gained, I guess, the wind in the lungs to continue just like blabbing on. Because personally, like for me, that's my personal preference. So I kind of got like a stick with that. Is like when I'm on YouTube or videos and stuff, I don't like to watch videos that don't really get to the point. There's a lot
Yeah.
of beat around the bush. There's a lot of like unnecessary spoken words, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like when I got in the story brand and thinking about like the story, is I don't want to lose interest. So the content that I want to put out, like when I do it, like I
You wanted to hit right away.
I want to be sure that I'm at an elevated state. I want to be sure that I'm excited. Like maybe it's something that has been during my. I want to keep it personal because I keep it. I want like the emotions or like whatever I feel. I want it to be kind of like a personal connection. So as far as like my YouTube, I haven't really developed, a strict idea as to where I want to go with that right now. So right now, a lot of my videos, I'm going to keep them towards Facebook, a lot of longer videos like that. And I'm going to take a lot of those longer videos and kind of do what Gary Vee does, where he clips out some of like a little bit of scenes, like the 1 minute clips. Some of these 3 minute videos that I can upload to IGTV. And as far as like YouTube, once I've been like creating this content, these videos consistently, I'll probably end up doing like a big montage of like videos. Yeah, and then so I think that'll kind of be like my entry to that. Right now, I'm kind of like putting a lot of my focus on Facebook and my Instagram because I really want to like build a really strong audience, really strong following, because that's where I'm going to get like a lot of my income from. That's reach the most people because that's where a lot of the time is being spent. So from when I get there, and so once I break away and get more full time, I'll be able to commit more time into the YouTube channel. What I really want to do is I want to gain like a really strong partnership. I want to do more like interviews, kind of like this, because the stuff I like. I want like actual topics and stuff like that. So nothing different from this, but for me, I think YouTube is a place where people want to watch like lengthier videos.
Yeah.
Is like huge because it's bouncing back and forth. Like you get ideas, like something
like a show,
like striking. Just builds like conversation. So that's the stuff I want to go off as far as like YouTube. So as far as that, and other than that, it just might be things like I just do crazy. I'm just like an outgoing person. I do all kinds of crazy shit. So like flips off trees, like being in the mountains. I think it's gonna be more of like that. Much like the marketing side and like I think I'm just gonna keep it genuine, no matter what it is, whether it's just like life activities versus interviews and things like that. So
man. I mean, I would definitely say that that's the way to go. Like, just don't ask for nothing. This next year, like now that you know what you're doing and you know your message and you kind of know, like, all right, this is the plan. I would say, like, don't ask for nothing. Just continue to like try and uplift as many people as possible. And then like, how just Gary Vee does it, like in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, like the one favor you ask, people are probably going to do because it's like, well, when does this guy ever ask for anything? And he's just been delivering me value for freaking years. Like, holy crap. I've just been seeing like how this guy went from nothing to something. And now he's asking me to help him. Like, okay, all right. Like, and then it goes back to like the hero's journey. Like when we form that sense of like, okay, I can empathize with this person. Like, I'm rooting for them. Like, my goodness, like they see, and when you can tell good stories, they see your resolution, so they want to root for that. You know what I mean? But all right, man, we got 20 seconds because these lives are only an hour long. So is there any last minute words you want to say real quick with 15 seconds? Go.
All right. Love yourself. Don't be too prideful. Don't set too high of expectations because you lift yourself down. And yeah, meditate daily.